Hello everybody and welcome back to another top 10 video. My name is Joker, and today we are going to be finishing out my comic book arc with my top 10 Marvel villains. And once again, as always, I deem it absolutely necessary to thank you guys so much for giving me the idea for this top 10 series. You guys are loving it so much and you're just eating it up and you want more and more, and I could not be happier. So thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means to me. But without setting off the waterworks just yet, let's go ahead and get started with my top 10 Marvel villains. Hitting it off with number 10. Coming in at number 10, we have Obadiah Stane, aka the Ironmonger. Obadiah Stane's first appearance was in Iron Man issue 163 in October of 1982, with his first appearance as the Ironmonger in Iron Man issue 200 in November of 1985. Stane was the president and CEO of his own company known as Stane International. While doing so, he was also working alongside Howard Stark. After Howard Stark's death, Stane tried to take over Stark International, but was unsuccessful as Howard Stark's son Tony was now in charge of the company. One day, while looking through Stark International's records, Stane finds the schematics for the Iron Man suit. After finding this, he assigns a team to break down the schematics of the suit and try to create his own, which ends up being the Ironmonger. Now, the Ironmonger suit is made up of a fictional alloy called Omnium and contains several forms of weaponry, including the exoskeleton itself, which amplifies the user's strengths. Now, one of the reasons he's so low on this list is while his idea wasn't necessarily original to create a carbon copy of the Iron Man suit, I do love it when a hero and a villain are basically the exact opposite of each other but keep the same style and looks. I don't know, when you keep some kind of uniformity to it, it draws me in. I like things being uniform. Now, I am cheating a little bit with this next one because he is sort of classified as an anti-hero, but my number 9 spot is going to go to the symbiote known as Toxin. Toxin's first appearance was in Venom and Carnage issue number 2 in October of 2004. Toxin would be the second offspring in a very weird line of symbiote offspring things. After Venom gave birth to Carnage, Carnage gave birth to Toxin. After Toxin's creation, Carnage had planned to kill it as he feared that it would become more powerful than he was. And with Toxin being the 1000th symbiote in their line, there was a lot of fear between Venom and Carnage that Toxin will become psychotic or violent due to the genetic breakdown. Carnage eventually plants Toxin into Patrick Mulligan, and we all know where it goes from there. Now, while Toxin does have the same abilities as the rest of the symbiotes in the line, Toxin is also possibly one of the strongest yet. Now, once again, talking about uniformity, I'm really a big fan of Toxin and the rest of the symbiote line as they all resemble Spider-Man. Now, with Toxin in particular, he is a very perfect blend between both Carnage and Venom since he is offsprings of both. And yes, because he is more of an anti-hero, simply because he's a symbiote, if he were to be bonded to someone else, he could easily become a supervillain. And that right there gives it full range for me to put him on my top 10 villains list. Coming in at number 8, we have Tony Masters, aka Taskmaster. Taskmaster's first appearance was in The Avengers issue 195 in May of 1980. Now, Taskmaster is a mysterious figure that we believe to have been born somewhere in the Brooklyn area. He is known to have an ability known as photogenic reflexes, very similar to photogenic memory. However, in this case, if he sees something, he can instantly mimic it. With him knowing that he has this ability, there is a brief moment where he considers joining the law enforcement to use it for good, but instead he opts out and decides to become a professional criminal. Some of the crazy things about Taskmaster is that he injected himself with a serum, giving him the ability to absorb knowledge instantaneously. Now, with this serum added to his photogenic reflexes, this now gives him the ability to outthink every opponent he comes across, making him virtually unstoppable. Taskmaster is once again one of those villains that is very difficult to defeat in battle. Even with the entire Avengers team, it took them several tries to finally take him down. The only person I know to ever single-handedly take down the Taskmaster was Deadpool, and the only reason for that being that while Taskmaster can guess all of his opponent's moves, not even Deadpool knows what he's going to do next. So it's kind of hard to beat that. Coming in at number 7, we have Adrian Toomes, aka Vulture. The Vulture's first appearance was in The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 2 in May of 1963. In this issue, we discover that Adrian Toomes' life has changed forever as an electronics engineer when he comes up with a flight harness. After feeling a great sense of achievement, he decides to go and talk to his business partner about the creation they've just made. Upon going to show off his new harness to his business partner, he comes to the knowledge that his business partner has actually been embezzling funds from the company the entire time, and without legal recourse, Adrian loses his job. Enraged with all the knowledge that he has just been given about his business partner, he goes into a fit of rage and starts destroying the office, only to realize that the harness he's still wearing gives him superhuman strength. Now, the whole appeal of Vulture is in his flight harness. It gives him flight capabilities and gives him resistance to injury, so even with his age, he can withstand all the punches from Spider-Man with ease. He's actually one of the oldest supervillains to ever fight against Spider-Man, and he is still around to this day, including his latest appearances in Spider-Man Homecoming and in the new upcoming Spider-Man PlayStation 4 game. And coming in at number 6, we have a fan favorite from the world of X-Men, Magneto. Now, remember what I said earlier about the waterworks? Yeah, get ready for this roller coaster of a backstory. With his first appearance in The X-Men issue number 1 in September of 1963, Max Eisenhardt was part of a middle-class German-Jewish family in the late 1920s. During World War II, Max and his family were constantly running around Europe trying to evade Nazi occupation. After running and hiding for so long, they are eventually captured and Max's family is killed, leaving him all alone. After the war, Max would move into a Ukrainian city where he would end up living in a house with his new wife Magna and daughter Anya. But unfortunately, the story does not end there, and it does not end with happily ever after. Unfortunately, an angry mob would burn down the house with Anya still inside, and with the mob preventing Max from saving Anya from the burning building, his powers are unleashed, killing the mob and destroying the city. After witnessing all of the destruction that he has caused, Magna is terrified and leaves Max, leaving him once again all alone. Now, Magneto is one of the greatest supervillains ever created, as he has one of the mutant genes inside of him, giving him the ability to control magnetic fields. And with this ability, he can easily control anything metal. Also, little fun fact, after Magna had left Max after the destruction of her home, she ended up giving birth to 2 twins holding the mutant gene, being Pietro and Wanda, otherwise known as Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. So yeah, all the way down that line, the mutant gene is strong in that family for real. Coming in at number 5, we have the almighty Loki. Loki's first appearance was in Journey into Mystery, issue number 85, in October of 1962. Loki is the son of Odin and brother to Thor, but to a certain extent. You see, while both Thor and Odin are both Asgardians, Loki is actually one of the Jotun. Odin had found Loki as an infant, abandoned in the cold. He would take him back to Asgard and raise him as his own son. Throughout his childhood, Loki was completely tired of how he was treated when compared to Thor. He knew that he didn't have any of the strength or abilities that Thor had at the time, and he knew right then and there that he would never be able to live up to anyone's expectations. He would eventually become known as the God of Mischief and would forever cause trouble for Thor and the rest of Asgard. Now, Loki is definitely one of the greatest supervillains ever because he is 1, a literal god, and 2, has a wide variety of special skills. These skills include shape-shifting, extreme intelligence, the ability to astral project himself, and on more than one occasion he has even cheated death. And with all that combined, I really don't know what more you would even want from a character. Like, that is the overall perfect package right there. And coming in at number 4, we have a well-known villain that I know right now not a lot of people are happy with, and that is the one and only Thanos. After his first appearance in The Invincible Iron Man issue number 55 in February of 1973, the world would never be the same. Thanos is an Eternal and was born on Saturn's moon of Titan. As a child, Thanos was a pacifist and would only be known to play with his brother. But as he grew older, he became obsessed with the ideas of nihilism and death. After growing up, he wanted to impress the Mistress Death so much that he created an army of aliens to murder millions of his own race. Since then, Thanos has been obsessed with doing the exact same goal on every planet he comes to. Now, with his army aside, Thanos is a very formidable opponent, not only because of his Hulk-like stature, but also because of his ability to wield the Infinity Gauntlet and all 6 Infinity Stones. And even with 1 stone in a hand, it has been proven that Thanos is nearly almost impossible to beat. And to even make matters worse, he's even been known to hold his own against both Odin and Galactus. So basically, it comes down to he is the world ender of the Marvel Universe. He is the #1 baddie. Now, moving in at number 3, we're going to bring it down a couple notches and go back to another symbiote fan favorite known as Carnage. With his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 360 in March of 1992, we discover that Carnage is actually the offspring of Venom. After Venom had detached itself from Eddie Brock, he had left part of himself in a cell to become his offspring. Afterwards, the symbiote offspring would end up attaching itself to the inmate known as Cletus Cassidy, and thus Carnage was born. Now, much like Venom, Carnage has the ability to shoot web-like substances out of every corner of his body. However, one of the scarier things about him is that Carnage's strength is that of Spider-Man and Venom combined. And also, unlike Venom, Carnage has the ability to form weapons with his body and detach them at the same time, whereas Venom can do the same thing, however he cannot remove it from his body. With that ability giving Carnage range attacks, it makes him a very dangerous opponent. Coming in at number 2, we have an oldie but a goodie, and that is Norman Osborn, otherwise known as the Green Goblin. With his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 14 in July of 1964, Norman Osborn gets introduced as the co-founder of the chemical company Oscorp Industries. where he establishes himself as both the CEO and the president. While wanting to gain full control of the company, he ends up selling out his partner, Mendel Strom, out for embezzlement. Afterwards, while searching through the rest of Strom's belongings, he comes across a strength-enhancing formula, and while creating a serum for it, it ends up turning green and blowing up directly into his face. This miscalculation enhances his strength and intelligence, but also leaves him with self-destructive insanity. From there, Norman Osborn becomes known as the Green Goblin, where his one primary goal is to become the leader of organized crime in the city. Now, as far as equipment goes, the Green Goblin wears bulletproof chainmail under his suit, along with a mask with a built-in gas filter. He's best known for the weapons he uses, such as his pumpkin bombs and razor bats, and his glider includes heat-seeking missiles, machine guns, extended blades, and even a flamethrower. So when you add all those together, you end up with one very intimidating supervillain. And now to close out our top 10 villains list, we have our number 1 spot with Venom. Venom's first appearance was in The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 252 in May of 1984. Venom is the original symbiote that ends up choosing Peter Parker as its first host. And while Peter Parker ends up becoming Spider-Man, the symbiote copies the look of the suit, giving Venom his signature look. After Peter Parker is able to break free of Venom, he ends up attaching himself to Eddie Brock, and thus the villain of Venom is born. After Eddie Brock is introduced as the one and only Venom, he becomes one of Spider-Man's greatest villains and one of the biggest threats to Earth. And like I've mentioned already, he does have all the same abilities as Spider-Man because he was a part of the host. After becoming part of his suit for so long, he was able to learn all of the abilities that Spider-Man had and use them as his own. And with all of Spider-Man's abilities, plus enhanced strength, makes him a very formidable opponent. Now, it's like I say every time, I am well aware that my list may not be exactly ideal with yours, so what I'd like you to do is leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought of my top 10 Marvel villains. Do you think it should be the same top 10? Do you think it should be completely different? Or do you think that the list should stay the same but just replace a couple of the characters on the list? Let me know in the comments, I want to check it out. But that'll be all for this episode, guys. Remember, if you liked what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see more top 10 videos or if you'd like to see anything else. But until then, and as always, I will see you guys next time.